Welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast, Season 4, Best of, Worst of, Extravaganza, with your hosts, Mike and Andrew. Tonight we will go... Wait, what? There's another host? Since when? There's always been two. Oh, so they're just adding people now. Okay. Give me the fucking cards. Okay. So, Season 4, Best of, Worst of, with your hosts, Mike, Andrew, and this guy named Josh, who came out of nowhere. Oh, he's from another podcast. Okay, the Nastygram RPG podcast, and others. Flipping through. Okay, well, tonight we will hear from all three of these douchebags about their favorite episodes and their least favorite episodes of Season 4 of The X-Files. I don't get paid enough to do this. Every year, it's a problem, so I'm about to quit. Anyway, here's your hosts.
Very extensive note for this one. Very.
Did you actually go back and watch your picks?
That's a great point.
I actually, over the last month, I watched the entire season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I wanted a fresh perspective. I rewatched a couple of them, but most of them I just gave a one through.
Nice. Well, welcome everyone for showing up today. This is Not Happening. Another X-Files podcast, Season 4, Best of, Worst of Awards show. And joined with me tonight, of course, my co-host Andrew and our special guest Josh. How are you two gentlemen doing?
Oh my goodness. We have finally arrived at the end of Season 4. It's here. Now we get to talk about the ones we really liked and the ones we didn't really like. I'm excited, Josh. How are you? Are you excited?
I'm very excited. Very excited to be back on with you guys. I think the last time I was on, was it for the movie?
That does sound familiar, yeah.
Fight the Future. And since we last have recorded together on this podcast, we've met in person.
That's true.
Which was very cool, and hung out and all that cool shit. So
good day at Gen Con.
2024 Gen Con. What that was.
What is time? Thus and 70,000 other borderline interested in hygiene nerds in Indianapolis. Loosely interested. Larry in the chat.
Yeah. Our
big shout out to a very special guest in the chat.
Yes. We are having some difficulties with Larry getting his text going, but he is here and he's showing his support. And we are so happy. There he goes. He's here. Perfect. He's on. He's texting. Thank you, Larry. You're getting your messages through. Very special guest. Thank you so much for showing up. I know it's only for a few minutes, but we love having you.
I was fortunate enough to actually get to interview Larry once as well. Yeah. I'm sure he may or may not remember. I'm sure he's done a lot of interviews, but it was a blast. It was I never really interviewed anyone of significance, especially in like a recorded setting. I was pretty nervous, and yeah, he's just, as you guys know from speaking to him, he's just so cool. He's very easy to talk to.
Yeah, very down to earth and very knowledgeable about what the inner workings of the X-Files, and that was very fun to hear.
Yes, absolutely. Very much unlike his character in Unrequited.
Yeah, very very welcoming. Unlike Denny Markham.
He didn't sick the Rottweilers on me once.
I actually, now that we have this opportunity, Larry, I'm just going to throw something to you that you can choose to talk about or not at your leisure. But there was a moment in Unrequited where our intrepid heroes are at the gate and they push a button to go on the intercom. I mean, maybe this is all fifth business. You weren't even on set that day. They
I know where this is going.
They did a shot, and then they brought you in. Then 4 days later when they all went back up there to shoot your bits. But do you remember the door prop? Because I feel like it's literally a regular chain link fence with just a swing handle, and they gussy it up to make it look like this high security fence. And you can tell Like, there's no door
Ladies and
handle
gentlemen,
there or something.
Of all the
Like-
things he could ask Larry right now, he's going to talk about props. He's going to talk about obscure props.
Here's a man
Yes.
who had hands-on access to
Literally.
that prop.
That's true. That's true. Was it just
So unlike Andrew to key in on an extremely inconsequential detail.
And listen, that is why people listen to our podcast.
That's
I think,
true.
For
That is one
the
of the-
hard-hitting journalism that we offer. All right, so we may circle back to that, but that
great
is
episode,
not-
Larry? But I want to know about that gate. All right.
Your performance was amazing, but can you really tell me about your interaction with the gate? You know,
Why didn't they put a latch on that gate?
Why didn't they tear
I
down
remember
the
the
gate
chain
with a
link
property
fence.
security fence? Yeah.
They weren't in LA yet. They didn't have that Boku bucks.
They
You
didn't
know?
have LA money.
You gotta make do. You gotta make do in Canada.
That's true. I mean, up here, there are no fences. It's all open borders. It's where your immigration problem's coming from, kid. All right.
All right.
That is not, as much as I would love to keep on talking about the chain link fence, that is actually not why we're here. So,
Yeah. So what we're going to do, like anyone who's listened to the show in the past, we're going to go through our 3 least favorite episodes, going from 3, 2, 1, number 1 being our chosen worst episode individually. And then we're going to do the same thing with our 3 best episodes, number 1 being our personal favorites. So because you are a special guest, Josh, would you like to go first with your 3rd worst episode of the season?
Sure. My 3rd worst episode is El Mundo Gira. The world turns.
Please explain why it is your 3rd worst episode, Josh.
So it's I do appreciate the whole soap opera thing they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as the title implies, and as it's referenced in the show, I think there's some cleverness there. The guy, I can't remember the main character or the chupacabra in question, what the character's name was, but that actor actually does a great job.
Oh, yeah.
And the overacting plays into that, the whole idea of the soap opera thing, but it's still not good. I mean, even with that, it's just not one that I want to go back and watch. You know, I get there's also this is problematic angle of often how the X-Files handles things of other cultures. But it's not that. It's just that it's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
There's some cool effects in it. I think there's some of how that fungus thing looks is neat, but in general, it's a skipperoo for me.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I would go with that. Yep.
Ironically, we have, and we do not give these answers to ourselves or to each other beforehand. My number 3 actually lines up with Josh here.
Really?
So, yeah, to piggyback on what he's saying, I think when the X-Files tries to tackle important issues, they don't do it very well. Surprisingly and ironically, they approach them from certain angles and it just doesn't always work. And I think this one is one of those episodes where, you know, they're trying to draw attention to an issue, a societal issue, but then they turned it into the soap opera, which is humorous, but it also kind of reduces the people to a stereotype.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if that really jives, but yeah, acted well. The chupacabra in question, very, very well acted, but overall it's just a stinker for me.
I'm going to get a lot of use out of this soundboard. Thank you, Discord.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so 2 for El Mundo Giro. That wasn't my number 3. It's not any of my worst of. Probably I had a bit of a soft spot for it because I hear what you're saying. It does delve into the stereotype, but I think because they went for that soap opera style, I was willing to forgive it. Would I go back and watch it? Probably not. But it had a lot that I could commend it for. So,
What is your number 3, sir?
are you ready for my number 3 worst of season 4, which is Teliko.
Oh boy. So
Yeah.
all the societal issue episodes.
Yeah, exactly. That one was probably worser than that one. And I mean, as I had mentioned in the show, this required a sit down of all the show's producers. Basically, they kept on. I think the behind the scenes story on this is they were asking, why are we telling this story? But they already started shooting it, so they had to kind of fix it as they went. They are all listed as co-producers, Morgan Wong, Spotnitz, and Rabwin. Like the number of bodies trying to fix this thing.
Yeah.
That should tell you a lot. I wasn't sure what the point of the story was. I couldn't really figure out what it was trying to do. It came off as a bland action piece. It was easily forgotten.
It was just like a rip-off squeeze, too, at the end there.
Yes.
I don't know where that came from or why that was important, but whenever you get more than two writers in a room trying to make sense out of an episode, it's never good news. And this is one of those instances where, yeah, more people trying to right this ship just was not the answer. They probably should have called it. Yeah,
I think they probably should have said, you know what? Let's try this other spec episode that we've received. And
this will kind of blow my hand, but should I mention if Taliko might be on my list?
Oh no. Let's preserve the surprise so that I can use the sound
it's not then.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just asking hypothetically.
I totally believe that it's got nothing to do with your list.
I think it's worth mentioning that in the chat for our first ever live show, we have no less than 10 people that are not us. And that just brings
amazing.
Great pleasure to my heart because I thought we were going to, I was aiming at 3. I thought if we had 3, that's going to be nice.
1 would have been 100% knockout of the
Your
park,
watch watching us would have been as much as I needed, but
I totally didn't pay her to show up.
and I do think, speaking of the chat, we should go back to reference that Larry in the chat did answer the question about the chain link fence. He remembers it.
He did.
Mulder and Scully had to hold on to it. So definitely did well to fake it not being able to get in, as he said. And they built it in a real hurry because they didn't want to flesh out the Markham character. I didn't mind, as Larry says.
That's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
All the hard-hitting questions that we have for you. Thank you, Andrew, for asking that question that no one was having the balls to ask. So,
thank you. Hard-hitting journalism at its finest. So that is our number 3 choices for the worst of season 4. Mike, is it time to go on to the number 2 choices?
Yeah, let's go to number 2 worst episode. Josh, you are up.
For me, number 2 worst of season 4. Drum roll. Elegy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough because there's a couple performances I actually dig in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And forgive me for not having all the characters' names in front of me, but there's the funny kind of comic relief character in the mental hospital.
Yes.
Who reminds me very much of a character from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, very much.
He's classic.
Episode, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And it's part of it is, and again, I'm not piling on the problematicness of the episode, but it's just the lazy trope of the
Rain Man,
the idiot savant, Rain Man, genius autistic thing. The other thing is just it's kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
I find, and I really didn't like the heavy-handed Scully vision.
Oh boy, yeah.
It is maybe my least favorite thing about the episode because I get why, as a plot point, why it was in there because of,
the cancer.
I think the whole thing is about, people that are possibly dying are the ones that are keyed in to see these visions. But the plot is convoluted. Her reveal of that when she is the ultimate skeptic and then just has if it had been more subtle, if it had been something that she could or could not have seen or believed, it was just there's a dead ghost in front of me. Boom. I don't like it. It doesn't rub me the right way. Not a fan.
Yeah, I think the inclusion of Scully's vision was heavy-handed and shoehorned in. I mean, if anyone had been watching the show, we all knew cancer was part of her story at this point. So the need to do it was a little like, that was the last eye roll for me. Like, okay, we're going to do this now. And the whole episode just feels like it's catering to that rather than being an episode that's about something. And it just falls flat for me. Don't like it. The actor who plays Harold does a great job.
Yep.
I think the fact that he, like you said, was a Rain Man's, idiot savant, overdone at this point. It's 1997, for God's sake. So, I mean,
well, to be honest, I think you're giving a lot of credit to 1997, but
that's true.
Your point is well made, though. I mean, it's funny. You're making me rethink my choices, but I'm good with my number 2. It's coming up here. No, I hated that episode for a lot of reasons. And one was they just weren't consistent with the bad guy, like the villain, and the writing as she is one, and how it appears and why it appears, and where the bad, the ghosts appear and how they appear and why they're there. And they damage the bowling machine, but yet they're over there. And, it's just a lot of stuff that happened to make a cool story, but it didn't hang together like a good suit.
It's very inconsistent.
By the way, I might remind you all, I'm wearing an actual tux for this, but anyway.
Oh, man.
No pants, but at least the top.
Stand up, Andrew. Stand up.
No, I will not.
Fair enough.
But excellent choice, and I agree. That is a stinker of an episode.
Andrew, I think it's time for your number 2.
Excellent. Well, everybody, my number 2 pick for worst of season 4 is The Field Where I Died.
Whoa!
Which I'm pretty sure Mike thought was going to be my number 1 pick.
No comment. No comment. I knew it was going to be somewhere.
You knew it was going to be somewhere, and you were right. I mean, it is a tour de force from Morgan and Wong. Like, they took that theme and ran with it. But if you don't like past life stuff, whoa, you're in for a trash episode. It was...
Even if you do like past life stuff, you are in for garbage.
Well, yeah, and for me, it all comes down to this 5-minute long cut, the slow camera push in to Mulder having his past life regression, and I just kept on it. I knew what that scene was, so I kept on fast forwarding it by 30 seconds, and I'm like, it's not over yet. Oh, this must have been so painful in the day. Yeah, it did not grab me. It was bookended by this action sequence that was like an attempt to probably make it watchable, but and her performance doing the multiple voices and stuff. I mean, we always pick out on that in episodes where it's not great. There are worse examples, but this one was kind of like
it just felt like a reel for her to send to her next project.
Yes, exactly.
Like, look at what I can do. It did not land the way they wanted it to, and no disrespect to her, but the episode is just, it doesn't have a lot going for it. And I mean, how about those perfectly placed wartime photos that Scully found at the at the office, just perfectly, and they're labeled with names.
Amazing. These wartime photos just showed up when you needed them. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, wow. Sullivan Biddle.
You guys want to hear a hot take?
Uh-oh.
Sure. Oh, you liked it.
I think I remember that.
In fact, I almost tried to squeeze it into my number 3. I couldn't justify it, and that was giving it too much credit, but I have it as an honorable mention. I almost want to put it in there because I knew it would be in somebody's bottom 3. It's renowned as one of the, most people's bottom rankings in this season. But I don't think it's a great episode. I don't even think it's maybe a good episode, but it's one that I personally really enjoy.
Interesting. Okay.
For a few reasons. One, the Waco siege, the Branch Davidians thing was one of the first major current events that I was very aware of watching and learning about in real time when I was growing up. And it was fascinating to me. And there's obviously a lot of very obvious corollaries to that that they were going for. So that made it interesting. I think the performances, the David Koresh character, gives an awesome performance. I thought she, as you mentioned, it's a super tall order to ask for a guest star, and maybe not delivered the best, but it's beautiful. It's a really well shot episode. There's some beautiful,
no doubt there.
Imagery of it, and I don't know, the melancholy doesn't always land well for me, especially in the X-Files. There's some episodes people really like that are very melancholy in nature that just don't really hit with me. This one, for whatever it is, I mean, David Duchovny, I think, is at his best playing to that kind of melancholy nature. I just think it fits him acting style wise. It fits Mulder, and I just enjoyed it. And I just was fascinated by the kind of emotional connection and the idea. And it's also, there's enough ambiguity, at least for my interpretation, about whether or not any of this was legitimate past lives. You know, there could be no supernatural in that episode. I think enough of it is left not spelled out completely, which I always enjoy. Yeah. But just the idea of it, you know, past lives aren't something I necessarily believe in at all or are personally interested in. But I think it was interesting for this, and the idea of thinking of like another version of Mulder and Scully in the trenches at war, that, you know, Mulder was this romantic fighting in a war, you know, 150 years before, 130 years before, whatever at the time. I don't know. It does it for me. Like I said, I don't think it's a good episode, but it's one I really like. It's probably one of the top 5 that I will rewatch in this season.
Okay. Nice. Well, I did not see that coming.
Say nothing for taste.
I will say it probably lands in the middle for me in terms of good / not good. It's not on my list for worst, nor is it on my list for best, but there are things I like about it, notably the music. I think Mark Snow does a fantastic job. And yeah, I think the Koresh character, what's his name? Great acting. I just think there are certain things about it that don't land for me. Yeah.
Well, as I said then, I mean, the fix for that episode was Mulder doesn't have a past life. Like, just have them investigating her claims of having the past life. But for him to suddenly have this past life thing spontaneously, it's like, okay, it's the past life episode. I get it.
The convenience of it. Yeah. And we call that out all the time. You know, oh, Mulder's afraid of fire. Oh, he's afraid of bugs. You know, it just works for this episode.
Yeah.
But it's also, does he really? Or is he wants to believe in things so much that when she kind of puts that out there, he just latches onto it.
Yeah, true.
Because he always gravitates towards certain kinds of victims, right? Like
hot women
usually doesn't care about people that are randomly murdered or like whatever, like regular
they have
crimes.
To be a woman in trouble.
That's right.
Yeah,
a damsel to be rescued.
Yeah. Unless it's Excelsis Day.
Yeah,
you must be more than a kind 3, or.
That's all I have to say.
Well, I enjoyed that. I did not see us having that particular interplay. I thought we would all be down on the bad ones, but I like that. That was a favor of yours, Josh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, are we ready to hear Mike's number 2 pick for worst of season 4?
I think we are. My number 2 is Herrenvogt. That's going to get me to laugh every time. But
it's funny.
So as listeners might know or might remember, I try to do kind of a 2 Monster of the Week, 1 Mythology in both categories, just to be fair. And this one really struck me as I can't get on board with this episode. And I think the biggest sin is that this is a season opener and it's just boring. What it comes down to is I think it's guilty by association, and Talitha Kumi did not do it for me either. So the end of season 3 into season 4, I find myself going, when I normally go, I can't wait to see what's going to be revealed. I'm going, let's get to the fucking Monster of the Weeks in season 4.
Yeah.
And that's really just, you know, we learn about the bees and we get more confirmation on cloning, but other than that, it's really whatever. At this stage in the game, beginning of season 4, there should have been more excitement. And I just don't feel that with this one.
We talked about it then and agreed that they should have led with home. Yeah, much in the same way, Little Green Men opened season 2, and they should have just gone straight to host. They're not great openers, which is a shame.
Yeah. Talitha Kumi did not leave us on a real good cliffhanger with the alien bounty hunter closing in on Mulder and Scully, but so this just had to do better, and it really didn't. So it's just more of the stale, neutral line for me.
The sin in that episode that made me hate it, apparently not enough to put it in my worst of list, but I appreciate you were trying to get some mythology in there, was this constant refrain of the clone guiding Mulder and saying, I'm going to answer all your questions. Just come with me. Yeah. I'll explain everything. And nothing comes of it. There's no answers. Come with me that I'll show you. Well, guess what? He shows them.
They drove to Canada and he had no answers.
They have a 22-hour car ride. And there is no clarity. Like, does he clam up the entire way until he gets there?
I promise. Once we get there, I'll explain everything. You want some fries?
To see it for yourself.
Yeah. This one was just blah, just boring, too stale to be a season opener for sure.
A mythology episode without really anything significantly adding or changing, I guess is what I would say. And this is still at a point where I think the mythology still has some good potential and upside going. There's some good mythology episodes in the season. But yeah, the opener is not one of them.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a least favorite mythology episode of season 4, it probably would be that one. It just didn't make my overall worst.
Fair enough.
I hear you.
Yeah, I think the biggest revelation we get is the bees, and that's it.
Well, and Mulder saves his mother, I guess. Or
no,
he doesn't.
The alien bounty hunter saves his mother.
That's right. It's like, I need to know the reasons why this must be. It's like, because
CSM said so.
That's right.
I nailed her in the past, all right?
She's important to me, and I might.
It's personal for me. Just put your hands on her forehead.
Literally, no one else loves me, and she maybe has a thing for me. So, come on, give me something.
I got to rekindle this flame, man. She's the only one.
Well, that ends our number 2 picks for worst of season 4. Is everybody excited to learn about our number 1 worst of season 4? I sense contention.
Ooh, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. I cannot wait to hear your guys' number 1s.
I think, Josh, it's time.
Should I lead away with this one? All right. My number 1 worst / least favorite episode of season 4 is indeed Tiliko. Yeah.
Got some crossover.
I tipped my hand there earlier, but it is... Again, I don't mean to intentionally key in on the quote unquote problematic episodes, but it is problematic, but it's also just bad. It's just it's boring. And as you guys talked about it before, we already spent some time talking about this episode in general.
Oh, I'll talk more about how much this was a terrible episode.
This episode fucking sucks.
Anything good about it does come from elements of Squeeze that it ripped off of.
Exactly.
For sure. But it's just like, hey, take Squeeze, but make it a black guy.
Making him trying to be white.
Gotta stay black, else he becomes white. It's like I don't know what we're doing here, but yeah, it's not good. The ending, there is the climax does have some kind of decent tension to it. Is kind of the only good thing I would say about the episode. But yeah, it's one that I watched because I was like I'm gonna watch the whole season, but not good. And while I'm talking, can I just also give a shout out one more time, because he's departing our live listen here, to one Larry Musser, my favorite repeating guest star in all of X-Files time, who has some awesome roles, including one this season, and incredible to have him join us here for a live listen. Very cool.
Really appreciate you coming, Laurie. Thanks so much, and thanks for navigating Discord to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about the technical issues there at the beginning, but you are too kind to stop in for a little show like ours. So you take care, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Musser.
All right. Well, that's my number one worst. Throw it to you, boys.
All right. Well, moving on to my Did you like the duck? Mike is losing it for the duck.
That was so unexpected. Okay, we're good.
Oh boy, soundboard is going to change our podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
All right. So my
It's just
number
two guys
one.
in a... Go ahead.
It's the soundboard podcast where we have fun with sound effects. My number one pick for the worst of season 4 is Demons.
Oh,
Wow.
The full 5 seconds of sound effect allowed by Discord. Yes. I had a huge issue with the central premise of this episode that Mulder believes ketamine is going to be effective in helping him recover a missing memory. I mean, he's done a lot of research on memory recovery. So where did this come from?
put a hole in your head.
Would the recovered memories possibly be suspect because you got them from a drug-induced stupor? I know ketamine therapy is a real thing, but it's mostly used to treat depression, from what I've read. So there's that.
Yes.
There's the travel shenanigans, which are one of my favorite things to tug on. The lame bait and switch at the end with Mulder firing his gun and not killing Scully, like that's a career-ending offense right there. So like, there's so much in this episode. I'm like, why?
I think we called it out in the episode. Can you explain why you have a spent clip? No? Okay, you're fired.
And they're shooting, and like the police are like, go, go, go. And like 10 minutes pass as Mulder and Scully have this little embrace at the end. Where are the cops? They're 10 feet away and they don't show up. I mean, everything's bad about this episode. I hate it.
Maybe they thought it was a school. So I don't
Bring it home.
love that episode, but it's definitely not in my bottom because there's some stuff I like about it. First of all, I have no problem believing that Mulder would be so wild as to try ketamine as part of some kind of treatment from a doctor who seems at surface level to be pretty legitimate, doing something kind of experimental. I mean, to me, that's Mulder. I mean, he does
Absolutely.
some wild card shit. And it is not surprising. I like the setup is really cool. How the episode starts,
Yes.
It hooked me right away. I don't think it really pays it off. I don't think it's a great episode, but to me, it's whatever. It's a fine kind of somewhat rewatchable. You know, and to the shippers out there, whenever I watch this episode, I always think to myself that I bet like Scully's going to do everything in her power to get Mulder through this, hoping that he's not truly guilty of this crime, trying to do everything possible to assist him, to aid him. But I bet that there's a quiet voice that she won't admit to in the back of her mind that's like, he did this, and maybe this is the end of this whole horrific chapter in my life, which has seen me get cancer, multiple people in my family be murdered. I just think it's there.
Man.
I think it's there. I think she's doing her honest best
There is.
to be a good partner, something that Mulder generally doesn't do. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
10% of her is hoping for him to have been guilty of this crime.
This is it. I can wash my hands, not feel guilty because I did everything in my power, and then go back to the fast track.
Yep.
Maybe I
I'm
should
going to go
just
talk
back
to Blevins
doctoring.
after this.
Yeah.
Good choice. I'm surprised that it is your number one. I know you had issues with it, but it did catch me off guard.
On reflection, I also go by my heart and how I felt as we were recording, and I was going back over the notes, and I realized I used a lot of exclamation points in my notes, and I was just shaking my head at the end, going, "I don't understand,
I don't have a
why
choice
they
here.
ended up here." And the whole device, and I agree with you, the hook at the opening, Josh, of we don't know how he got here and he has to go back. I feel like they already used that in Zero Sum. You know, how did we get here? And what do we have to learn in order to understand how we've come? This is the Skinner covering up the tracks of the crime. And I feel like they copy themselves not 2 episodes later. So I yes, it's a cool opening, but not cool enough for me for where they go with it. It's like, oh, he's doing ketamine. Why? Yeah.
Because he put a drill in his head.
Well, there's that.
I think my biggest complaint with the episode, one, I do agree that Mulder does some crazy shit, as we will find out in the next season we cover. He'll sail to the Bermuda Triangle by himself on a little tugboat and get blown out of the sky. But my biggest issue is that they set up at the beginning these memories that he's got, and we never get any confirmation as to if they're true or not. Is it revealing anything? Is CSM really a part of his family now? That's probably one of the weakest things for me, is like they don't go into it. You don't really learn anything new by the end of the episode. So
yeah, you can't even say it's mythology, really. I mean,
you can't.
Touches on some mythology issues, but you don't learn anything.
I kind of think this season, more than any other, has a lot of blur between like standalone episodes that are kind of a monster of the week that are touching on mythology. A lot of it's, I think, because of the Scully cancer through line, but it happens a ton in this season.
Yeah.
To their credit,
absolutely.
Like a lot of series at this point in time in the late 90s were not, they did not have through lines. They were completely serial. So you didn't have one, something that influences another episode later on, or even like a 2 or 3 part episode. X-Files was kind of a trendsetter there. So for them to go back and like pull nuggets from other episodes, that was a real nod to the fans who were like, oh, he said something about Scully's cancer. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I still hated it. So there you go.
You guys are wrong. I hated it. All right. Well, good pick. Good pick.
Thank you. So I guess that all brings us home to the final choice for number 1, worst of season 4, Mike.
All right. So my number 1 pick for the worst episode of season 4. Little lackluster at this point, but elegy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to...
Sorry, let's get the official sound effect.
Oh.
I like the duck.
The duck is pretty good. We don't have to rehash it, but I think just overall, the events and visions are inconsistently applied. Protagonist could be anyone. They did not have to go with the mental handicap angle. I think it's Clyde Bruckman's final reposed the mentally challenged edition. I don't think...
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
The way he sees things that are about to happen, whether or not it's immediately or a day down the road, I think it's the same idea and it's just not interesting enough. Actor did a great job, but it's unnecessary to the plot that he has to be mentally challenged. Complete this episode with the obligatory reminder Scully is dying and a bad guy Dumbo dropped into the ending because it needs to wrap up. This is just a no-hitter for me.
A lot of overlap, me and you there, Mike. We got two of the same in the bottom.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm always on the outside looking in. I'm going to say the worst sin in that episode, I probably should have put it on my bottom 3, is the slaying of our victim off stage.
Right.
He's like, oh,
or you mean the protagonist?
What happened to the guy that has all the answers and we were protecting? Oh yeah, he died of a heart attack off stage. Yeah. It was sad.
Almost like
as bad as Pendrell dying off stage.
Oof, don't get me started.
Yeah, that was horrible. We should have all seen him eat that bullet.
Wow.
Just got to jazz it up for the listeners.
Well, there we
choices,
go.
Everyone.
Yes, the end of the season 4 worst of section. So really, time for the best of.
Yeah,
I have a request.
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
I go the last for the best of?
Oh,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, I like it. Yes.
Special guest gets to
and all.
choose their round.
The audience agrees. Definitely, Josh should go last. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that means he's got something in store.
He does. He's got I couldn't decide between these 6, so I'm just going to name them all.
No,
that was your first season.
That's true. I did have a couple. So
well, now that we've talked about it, I'm gonna insert this one.
So should we go in reverse order then, Mike? Do you want to go and then
Sure.
I'll go and then Josh will go?
I will go first.
All right.
To start off our top 3, this will be my 3rd favorite episode of season 4. Drum roll, please. I'll be honest. It's got to be Zero Sum.
I'm sorry, I was getting more hype because I thought you were leading into it.
I told you to holster that shit.
Ben, cut it out! Put the sticks down!
Okay. All right. We're good. Hey, Zero Sum, everybody.
Yes. So we talked a little bit beforehand, and we talked about honorable mentions. And this one was in contention with Tempest Fugit, and both have loads going for them. But this one edged it out by a hair simply by having relevance to the mythology, something that I think Tempest does not have. And this is another chapter, this episode, in Can the X-Files be the X-Files without our agents? Skinner took center stage while Scully gets her treatment, and even Mulder takes a muted role. Mitch Pileggi sees the opportunity with this gritty voice and commitment to the role. We get to see the AD cleaning up for CSM, which I thought was really cool, under the assumption he's going to get a cure for Scully. And one of my favorite things about the episode is the constant tension between him and CSM, and when will Mulder find out Skinner is involved in this? So that, for me, keeps the episode going, and it culminates in one of the coolest scenes in CSM's apartment of the series, I would say, where you really think he just blew holes in CSM.
Yeah, much
Awesome.
better fake murder gunshot scene than the one we just talked about in
I was just going to
Demons.
say,
This does it right. The other one doesn't.
yeah. And is it like 2 episodes later again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do it twice.
Yeah. Interesting.
And for a split second, you thought he did it. And that, they rip it away from you 3 seconds later, but damn, for just a moment, you thought Skinner did it.
I suppose I could get on my high horse and say, does the cigarette smoking man not have like security guards who pat down CSM on his way, Skinner on his way in?
No, because he's definitely the least people involved, the better. You don't want
exactly.
anyone else there seeing who's coming and going from CSM's
Fair
office.
Enough. I will accept that answer.
This is a good one, Mike. This was on my short list to include in the top, that I would have it at the minimum as an honorable mention. It's one that I remember I just randomly, like when I was younger, I would occasionally like buy the VHS sets, which I think came in like two VHS tapes each with 2 episodes on them.
Yeah.
And for
right.
most of the ones I had were like seasons 1 to 3. I think Zero Sum was the only one, was one of the episodes on the only set I had from season 4. And I watched it all the time. And yeah, there's a ton of stuff I love. And the bee stuff that we talked about in Herrenvolk is just much cooler here. There's
absolutely.
The scenes with the bees when they like that teacher dies in the playground. And I mean, from the opening kind of setup scene, this is a cool episode. It's cool to, as we've seen Skinner be more of an ally, it was really cool to see him go back to like, wait a second, how much is he really on their side? And we know he's working towards Scully things, but just to see the potential for him to really be able to get his hands dirty. And then the tables get turned on him was cool. Like how CSM was really like that cop getting murdered and the things pointing back to him. There's some really good tension in this one, and an episode that it's hard to say like I didn't miss Scully being in it, but I think it's so good that it made up. Yeah, it made up for her not being there.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally agree. It's definitely one of my favorite episodes. The unique perspective, the story that's halfway through and we're catching up with the details, unique in terms of X-Files storytelling. And the other thing that blows my mind is this is a Howard Gordon episode. The majority of
Reel it
majority
in.
of his episodes are like, let's take 3 different plots and mash them together and see if it fits. And it's a confused mess. But this one really worked. And I think it's one of his last episodes, if not the last episode.
I think it is the last.
So,
I think it's the last. He did dial it up to 11 for bee escape and procreation. But that's about it. He managed to reel it in otherwise.
That's true.
So good
I
on him.
forgot it's the windows being completely opaque with bees. If you overlook some of those things, solid episode for sure, and a great choice. Well,
all right, Andrew,
we're ready for my number 3 pick for. We're ready for my number 3 pick for best of season 4, which is going to be Tempus Fugit.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best mythology episodes in the season, and the bar is not super high, as we've been discussing. Like, it's not a solid season for mythology. They're still kind of figuring it out, deciding how much they're going to release in terms of little plot nuggets, but there's a lot that gets revealed in this episode. And we've had all this stuff before. You know, we've had alien abduction, we've had the ships coming down and stealing people. We've had Max, but they're showing it to us in a way which is new and interesting. It's a really interesting take, the idea of an alien abduction that's happened or interrupted, mid-abduction. And that's the thrust of the story. Although we really only realized that in Max. But I think we both agreed, Mike, when we reviewed these, that we liked Tempus Fugit more than Max. Like the introduction to the story elements were more solid than the resolution. But yeah, I thought it was a great episode. And like you, I do like to nod to the mythology stuff. This will be my pick of mythology. The others just not as solid. It was just surprising because Tunguska's got some neat moments, but
Absolutely.
Too weird with, Mulder's sudden reappearance from Russia. It's like, what's the story of him suddenly getting into the Congress hearing from?
What is the question?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's back.
It's a really quick transition from a Siberian gulag to the halls of Congress.
He went home to shower. He got his tux.
I don't have time to call Scully. So yeah, definitely not that one. But Tempus Fugit, solid episode.
Nice.
And I would agree with you. And like I said the reason it was my honorable mention is that I felt it wasn't mythology enough. Fair. I know, like Josh was saying, and like we've said earlier on the shows, there are episodes that sit in the middle, and I don't know where this sits because it wants to be a mythology episode, but it doesn't have any keys or ties to it other than aliens are there and Max. But nothing of consequence happens. It's a great episode.
Yes.
And Mike Millar,
solid
the
character.
ATF guy, fantastic actor, if nothing else. And the visuals in that episode, extremely powerful.
Boy, what a love letter to air crashes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Like nowadays with a drone, some of that would be simpler, but a lot of helicopter shots when that was expensive and hard to do. But those scenes, the visuals are like, blockbuster worthy, not just an episode of TV, but like a movie in 1997 that looked like that would be like a good movie.
Absolutely. Yep.
And Mark Snow's capper on that absolutely makes those scenes even more powerful.
Yeah. Yep.
Great choice. Great choice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Which means it's time to pass the torch to Josh for his number 3 pick for season 4.
Is it band? Can you hold the drums for a second? I got something to say. Before I pick my number 3, I just want to say that this season overall was really hard for me to pick, especially the third. I have 2 that are kind of, for me, slam dunks. But this season, it's weird because I've never ranked the seasons, but kind of just in the back of my mind, I think season 4 would, definitely upper half, maybe top third of seasons. But it doesn't have a lot of my all-time favorites. It's just a lot of really good to great episodes, and only a handful, only a few that I really don't like. But there aren't that many that are like, oh, I love like those episodes.
I agree with that.
So
I would give it maybe 2.
I had 6 episodes that I was struggling to pick from for my third, which was part of the reason I asked to go last. So I will throw one in there that I had boiled it down to 2 before you guys went, and I'm going to throw one in there and leave the other as an honorable mention because I'm pretty sure one or both of you will have it in your top. So my number 3.
Oh.
Band.
Oh, we can play now. This fucking guy.
There we go.
Is Unruh.
Excellent choice.
Solid choice.
To me, it's a lot about the imagery that lasts with me, the performances, the tension, it's Vincent
Taylor Pruitt, I believe.
Pruitt
Taylor Vince.
Pruitt Taylor Vince is awesome. You know, obviously a man who's typecast a bit because that eye is not an effect or something he's acting. That's an actual thing he has, which, you know, sort of limits the range of some of the roles you have to choose from. But man, does he nail this one. And I don't know, the thing with that spectral photography, whatever they call it, it's spooky, it's creepy. There's some great, that moment when she's there and he's up on those painting stilts and Scully finds out from Mulder about like, he's really tall. It's just like, it just grabs me. It's one of the, like a true monster of the week that is just purely that I can just really dive in and enjoy as a super engrossing X-Files episode. You know, might not make my all-time top list, but it's one in this season that I'll always gravitate towards rewatching.
Absolutely. And yeah, I completely agree on the tension of this episode. It is one of the creepiest episodes of the series, I think.
I think the reason it doesn't make my top 3 list, there's probably 2 things. One is freaking Scully, damsel in distress, as always, right? But the other is the resolution of it, where he sees the picture of himself and it's him shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that
there are some stumbling blocks.
Yeah, it's like the conceit is when he takes a picture, he projects the ghosts,
howlers,
or, you know, the howlers around what he sees there. So theoretically, he should have seen a picture of himself screaming with the howlers. You know, that's what I expected to see, but he shows something else. It's like in Elegy where, you know, Rain Man shows up in the back of Scully's car. It's like, no, where does that come from? You know, that was not part of the episode up till now. You just threw that in because. So this sudden about face at the end for some kind of dramatic reveal is just like, wait, what? I agree with everything else you said. Like, it is a very tense episode, and there's a really interesting delving and investigation, actual agents doing stuff to get to the closure of the episode. But just that one thing just completely sidetracked me. I was like, well, wait a second, you know, shouldn't it be this other thing? And maybe it's because I'm just too analytical, but I don't think
that there's ever been any indication of that, Andrew.
Never. Let it be revealed here and here only. But as a bit of a foreshadow, you won't be surprised to learn that our listeners on Facebook who did the poll agree with you. It is one of the more popular episodes. So.
Oh, perfect.
I'm a man of the people.
You are.
Excellent.
All right. Is that our number 3 choices in the bag there?
I think that's all of them.
Well, then we're going to go back around to Mike for number 2.
All right. This one took some finessing myself, but I had to go. My number 2 favorite episode of season 4 is... You're not going to do the duck. Okay.
I'm sorry. The duck. Here we go.
I was waiting for it. No, I was waiting to stop.
Big pregnant pause.
Okay, we got it. My number 2, Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man.
Excellent.
Andrew and I talked about the ins and outs of this episode, and it was just a fun, exciting deep dive into the series' main antagonist. It was crafted in a way that initially had the viewer thinking, yeah, this is his backstory. This is something that we're learning about CSM, but it ended up leaving a huge question mark. It was cleverly written as an eye into who he was and where he came from, framed by the idea that he was writing an adventure spy novel in the vein of Tom Clancy. So when you peel back the layers, it becomes almost crystal clear that this guy is idealizing his whole history. He's making himself more exciting than perhaps his deeds were. Was he the assassin of JFK and Martin Luther King? Or did he just play a role in having that play out? Even his dialogue is romantic. I'll do it. I have too much respect for the man. I work very hard to keep any president from knowing I even exist.
Yeah.
At a glance, we see it to be truth, but in the end, it comes out much foggier. And what I like about that is that it plays out much like the cigarette smoking man character. What he tells you is one thing, and it is open up to so much interpretation you don't know what's fact. And this episode is the same way.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a very, very good episode. And I think we learned a lot about it just in discussing it at the time, because I think we both went into it with a single perspective, and it kind of unraveled as we thought about it. But like, is this really truth, or is this solely tales that he's written that were discovered by Frohickey in the actual story that gets accepted by the magazine? So the idea that this is some revelatory piece of information about our antagonist, but it's actually this Pulp Fiction story that he's finally managed to get produced after 30 years. That's a brilliant twist. It's just really, really smart, well-researched, intricately planned. It was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, I like this was my other, so it's my honorable mention that I was going back and forth with. I love the episode. I love history. I love the Forrest Gump kind of element of it, like seeing this this guy in place in these massive historical moments, and a little bit more of a assertive role in those events than Forrest Gump might have had. But yeah, the JFK thing, like that the whole history element. I didn't love the box of chocolate scene. It was funny. And I love. I like the fact that it ends up ambiguous, because I don't think CSM. I don't like the idea of him truly being this, like, passionate writer. And if that had worked, he would have cast everything aside. It's like, hey, if Adolf had gotten into that Vienna School of Art
school,
everything would have been cool. I don't believe that in my mental version of mythology. But how it plays out is awesome. And a quick personal random aside, I was in Texas recently for about 36 hours to swim with otters, which was one of the coolest things I've ever done in life.
Awesome.
Wow. Okay.
But we had some time to kill, and my buddy was like, hey, flight's at 5, what do you want to do? And I was like, let's fucking go to Dealey Plaza, man. Like, I've never seen it. I don't know when I'll be back in Dallas. So we drove up there, I put in the GPS. We come up through the underpass, and there's hundreds of people out. And I was like, oh shit, like, well, it's not going to be hard to find exactly where it is. And I know a good amount about it. So I kind of knew where everything was. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty crazy, man. This happened like 61 years ago. And then I'm like, wait, 61 years ago today.
Oh, wow.
It was fucking November 22nd. I was like, holy shit. And I kind of got like goosebumps, and we were like walking around.
That's awesome.
And it was just, it was pretty wild. It was very cool to see. And I was thinking about that, and just like, it's just that idea of someone like CSM potentially being in these situations that have that level of impact. And there's the humor, like when they're in that little board meeting towards the end.
Oh, the ties. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, now that we're live, I asked it in the episode. I want everyone's opinion right now. If he was handing out CDs to those people, it would all be the same CD. Which CD would it have been?
Yeah.
What CD would CSM think his crew listens to? It's just ambiguous. You guys can answer as you're listening.
And remember,
on
it's
YouTube whenever you'd
1997,
like.
so tailor your responses accordingly.
Well, at the time, it would have been 92.
Oh, you're right.
Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah.
Best of.
Nice. I know you all like this.
I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. Solid choice for sure.
Mm.
So I have forgotten where we are.
Number 2,
it's your turn, sir.
Oh, it's my turn for number 2. All right. Well, my choice for number 2, best of in season 4 is Zero Sum. I had to hold my tongue as that was somebody else's number 3 choice, but yeah, it was my number 2 choice. I really liked it. The unique perspective, the interesting character given to Skinner, solidly played by Mitch Pileggi. As soon as it starts to unravel, you know there's going to be this confrontation with Mulder, and it plays out very well. And you get to see that vulnerability in Skinner. You know, that I didn't take my own advice. Like, what a solid scene.
Yeah.
And then Mulder realizing that he has erred, but he is trustworthy, and covering from at the end. Just a brilliant construction. And again, I'm amazed it's Howard Gordon that wrote it. You know, it's just a very nice, solid piece, start to finish. And I liked it a lot, which is going to make you wonder, if I liked it this much and gushed about it this much, what could my number 1 pick be?
What could your number 1 be? Well, I think we're going to find out.
It's going to happen soon, yeah. But was there anything else anyone wanted to say about Zero Sum, or do you want me to throw the Skinner soundboard thing again?
I think the only thing I'd like to add is that I like the cut from when Mulder confronts Skinner after seeing the little spectacles in the grainy photo. I like the fact that they go to the police lab and they test fire shots, and he's like, we're going to do this together because I don't fully trust you. I believe what you're saying, but you know, we're going to do this together, and I want to see if this was your gun. Good stuff.
I like it.
It is now time for Josh to give us his number 2 pick for best of season 4.
All right. My number 2 pick for season 4 is Home. What a wonderful episode. I love this episode. This would make my top whatever list of X-Files episodes. It's terrifying. It's shocking. It's bold. I really appreciate some of the risks they took here. I think it's one of, or maybe the only episode that ever aired that then they pulled after it aired.
Yeah, Fox never put it into syndication after that. Yep.
Which is, you know, you think about the shit on Netflix nowadays. Right. It's a little different, but at the time, man, this was a lot. Not the violence, the incest, it's pretty fucking crazy. But I just love the corollary with like the nostalgia that's going on. This idea of the picturesque Americana, the town, the, you know, make America great time of everything simple, and, you know, Sheriff Andy Taylor, like, come on.
Oh, yeah. So nicely done. Yeah.
And the music and that's the scene when the sheriff and his wife are murdered is one of the most memorable scenes in the entire show to me, with that music playing, and just the fucking brutality of it is unreal. Followed by some of the worst tactics pursued by but fun and believable and incredibly tense. And they get away. And again, the idea that, you know, a lot of the times some of my favorite episodes are the ones where the supernatural element is at least ambiguous to some degree, or relatively something you can understand and interact with. So yeah, Home.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with that murder scene. When that camera is pulling back and you're just listening to the violence of the sheriff and his wife getting killed, that is classic Morgan and Wong material. They roll that kind of stuff out frequently, and it is disturbing.
Well, it's the oozing blood approaching the wife as she is hunkered down under the bed. And you just know as soon as it touches her, she's going to scream. They're going to hear her. Like, it's an art to construct that scene so that you know what's going to happen. You know, as a viewer, it's like, unless you defy my expectations and she's a rock and she manages to survive this, I think she's going to die and it's going to be horrifying. So yeah, that's a solid choice, Josh, for sure.
I think we should all raise a glass to Barney for going in first.
Or Barney.
Bold move, Barney.
Taking a headshot.
Did it first, Sheriff.
And callously, like 10 seconds later, Mulder's like, yeah, I shouldn't have gone in. So now what are we going to do? You know?
Yeah, he cracks a joke. Now, I do recall, was that was your biggest complaint? Was that you didn't like the humor, Andrew? Is that true?
Yeah, it doesn't rank as my. I will say that I do give it an honorable mention towards the number one spot, but that was a bit of an issue for me. Was it didn't know what it wanted to be. Like they clearly wanted it to be horrifying and terrifying and disgusting in a lot of ways, and to make it work, they injected this level of humor, which I think is just, it didn't sync well, if that makes sense. Okay. Like when you have a horrible death and then 10 seconds later, Mulder's making a joke. It's like, I don't believe you would do that. You know, you're out of character for me, sir. So like, choose what you want to be episode. Do you want to be comedy? In which case, give me more jokes, you know, because you can do that. You've done that before. But if you want to be horrifying, you know, lean into it. And that was my issue, I think, with that episode.
I almost wonder if that was producer interference. Like, we need something to dial it back. And then they still pulled it from syndication.
And as you say that, Olivia agreed with you completely. She's saying you need dark humor to get through tough times.
Very true.
Which is, they probably saw that if they didn't, they would have some issues.
Yeah. And I think it's Mulder. I kind of agree with you, Andrew. I don't conceptually have a problem with humor in those moments, but Mulder isn't, even though his experiences are, his character is not portrayed in a way that's grizzled enough to make that kind of joke. Like, you know what I mean? There's a character that can make that joke who's been through some crazy shit. From like as Olivia mentions, you know, she has a law enforcement background. And I'll tell you, like, you know, I'm in the first responder field, firefighter, and there's some shit that has been, you know, said amongst the crew that God forbid would ever be heard.
Right.
But you're right. Mulder, he's not the one to say it. Like,
no, exactly. I mean, we know his history. I mean, come on, Reggie.
He's funny, but he's not hard enough to fucking do that.
No, exactly. So
anyway, time for number ones.
Time for number ones. We have arrived at that point where our top choices will now be revealed. But before we do that, I think it's time to check in with our Facebook poll to see what the listening audience chose as their top choices. So, laying it on with the quack. So, coming in, well, let's talk about the episodes that didn't get any votes, which suggests to me they were unpopular or disliked a lot. And those are Demons, Heronvoke, Terma, The Field Where I Died, Gethsemane, and Taliko, which we have singled out for those episodes. So I think we're all singing from the same hymn book there. Kevin Moran specifically commented that his bottom three were El Mundo Giro, Taliko, and The Field Where I Died. So again, some synchronicity there. And thank you all for participating in our Facebook poll. Coming in at number 3 for the audience top 3 is Unruhe, which gathered 10% of all the votes. The second one was Small Potatoes, which got 14%, and then the last one was Home, which got another 14% of votes. So,
so we got a
solid choices. Interesting indeed. But now it is time for the big reveal, and we can no longer keep it secret. Mike, it's time for you to give us your number one pick.
All right. So my number one pick for season 4, best of episode. Despite any flaws it may have, I picked Unrui. And this is one episode I will never find myself skipping. It is fantastic. It has all the right stuff, drama, an engaging antagonist, a dose of reality and suspense, and a killer soundtrack. The concept of psychic photography lands really well with me. And my favorite part about it is that he doesn't know he has the ability, which is what gets the agents to him. So he's leaving these breadcrumbs, even though he's a really adept serial killer. He's making mistakes that he doesn't know he's making. And it's really exciting to me. And then the fact that he's doing these awful things to people because of his past, it's just a really creepy sentiment. And Pruitt Taylor Vince plays it so well. His voice in that camper, when he's got Scully and he says, "I'm on to you," the way his voice reverberates in that scene is terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't have too much to add. I already talked about this episode, but what you just said about him being unaware of his powers is really interesting because it makes me think about, I think a lot of episodes I really love might share that element. Where the villain, the monster, if you will, aren't necessarily actively channeling superpowers. They just happen to have something around them or about them that is that element. That's a nice observation.
I think of DPO, I think of Blood, both episodes where you can't hate these guys completely, because they're kind of likable villains, or you can empathize with them.
Which is something Scully's forced to do. Her character was very rigid in the first 2/3 of that episode. And then, a lot of people, even you, Andrew, tonight, complained that it's more of a damsel in distress. But I kind of push back against that on this episode, whether or not it's just fanboy or not. I think she's utilizing abilities that she is not comfortable with to extend the amount of time that she has to survive the situation, which I think is strength. And it gives Mulder time to find her, despite how ridiculous that association is. The 6 fingers in the photograph and the gravestones, I don't understand how he made that correlation. She would be dead. But he did. The episode has some flaws, but I'm okay to hand wave those.
Well, it's Vince Gilligan. So that automatically gives us a really good script to work from, right? So gives us, like we did it. It gives them a great script to work with. It's the issue for me, I think, is it goes into trope territory that I don't like the cleaning up the photograph. Can you just zoom in and clean that up or whatever? It's, I suppose,
enhance.
Your first complaint on the show.
Probably this was where it first happened. So how could I complain about it? Because they were setting the course, but can't do that. So I had an issue with it, obviously. And plus, you put Polaroid film on top of a heater, it's gone in 3 months. It doesn't get funky like that. So there were just some things which they leaned into. I was like, oh, I don't know. But if I hand wave all that aside, there is some solid tension, some really interesting moments, and I can see why you picked it. I could even agree with it.
Well, what did you pick, Andrew?
All right, Andrew.
Well, funny you should mention. My number one choice for hold on. What is my number one choice? Oh, yes. All right. My number one choice for best of season 4 is Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man.
Nice.
Again, I think the experience we're having here for our number ones. Oh, now you found the doc. Very good. Our carryover, our interrelation between our choices here on our top choices is interesting compared to our bottom 3. But I think that speaks to Josh's point that there really are maybe only about 6 episodes that are truly head and shoulders great in season 4. Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man is clearly one of them. I mean, it is just so different from everything else, and it takes this character that we have seen and we've been curious about for 4 seasons and finally cuts them into full relief. Super researched. Just like the detail they'd have to go into to create this script is incredible. The layers upon layers that we have here, like, is this the actual truth? Is it his fabricated story? Is it just meaningless? You know, is this some diversion that he's created to throw the lone gunman into a tizzy? You know, it's just really, really interesting. I mean, it's completely out of anything. It's a monster of the week, right? It has no bearing on anything else because nothing about it comes back to have any relevance. But as a character piece, it's really great. I agree with you about the box of chocolates scene. Didn't need to have that. I think that was William B. Davis getting a bit of a free lunch. But other than that, like, there's some really neat stuff here. The moment where he says, you know, he tells Deep Throat, I've never killed anyone, is completely false because we have seen him kill somebody. So it's like, well, what do I believe here? Are you the liar? I thought Deep Throat was the liar. It's really, I don't know. It gets you thinking, and I like it a lot.
It's also so outrageous to think of having a extraterrestrial entity on life support in this white room. And the way you're going to kill him is to blow him away with multiple shots from a handgun. Just shut the fucking machine off. Right. Like, what are we doing?
You want to kill him.
You got to kill him with a special gun.
Like, who's cleaning that up?
Not either of them. That's Tim over in maintenance.
So good.
Oh, man. Good stuff.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And now we are circling to the end of our choices. And I feel like it's time for Josh to tell us there's 5 choices for number 1. But Josh, I lean it over to you.
Well, I'll tell you, this was not a hard one to pick. And it's not an episode that either of you guys have ever mentioned. Not ever. That have not mentioned tonight. And to me, it is my clear number 1. So my number 1 on season 4. Paper Hearts. I love this episode. Mm-hmm. Tom Noonan, right?
Oh, yes.
As John Lee Roche, classic 3-named serial killer.
Yeah.
Delivers one of my favorite performances. I might even say him and our antagonist in Irresistible are 2 of my favorite monsters of the week. Mm-hmm. And they both share a couple things. They're, you know, sociopaths, psychopaths, serial killers, incredibly scary for different reasons. You know, their personalities are very different. And without the second appearance of Donnie Pfaster, the supernatural takes a back seat. Mm-hmm. As far as the monster, the character in question. I find it so, just his performance so engrossing. This is another one that has some mythology adjacent aspects, and I love the idea of, like, just imagine if everything Mulder has built his life's purpose on is bullshit. Mm-hmm. And it was just a sick motherfucker who killed his sister. You know, everything he believed would crumble away. Mm-hmm. And I love it. There's definitely elements of this episode you can nitpick. You know, from an analytical perspective.
Just wait for it.
And I don't. The dream sequence stuff is not my favorite part of it. It's him. It's John Lee Roche. It's the interchange. It's the very believable to me, outrageous thing that Mulder takes on, of getting this guy out of jail and going up there. To me, I buy that Mulder does that. And although there's no, like, real consequences, I do like that Skinner and Scully kind of talk about, like, what the fuck did you do? Like this, right. Mm-hmm. Like that it could have those consequences. At least that they recognize how crazy of a move this was. Mm-hmm. which they often don't. That often gets glazed over. So yeah, Paper Hearts for me, my number one.
Excellent choice. That is a phenomenal episode. And if nothing else, it's because of Noonan's performance. He plays exactly what I think that person in real life would act like. And it's so disturbing. Now, Andrew and I joked about the fact that Mulder would be fired several times over, especially in this episode, for the antics he gets himself into.
But at least they recognize, like, at least they address that, like, this could be an issue.
And thus it's okay. they mention it so they can write it off.
At a minimum, he's got to abduct a little girl, and he maybe got this one lady fired for her job. You can't really apologize. Put your hand on her shoulder and say, don't worry, it's my fault. Yeah, that doesn't really please anyone. And it's going to traumatize this little girl that she was abducted for a couple hours.
The civil lawsuits against Mulder, he said he was sorry. He accepted responsibility.
Oh.
Yeah. So listen, it's a neat episode. The reason I didn't throw it up there on the...
Neat. That's very patronizing.
Neat.
It is.
Your opinion is okay.
I'm not going to criticize your opinion. I'm just going to say that I had real issues with this one.
You did.
There's some neat stuff, stuff I liked, and you're right. The performance of Noonan's performance there, Roche's, the character of Roche, is really creepy and really good. It's well delivered. And often in X-Files episodes, there's nothing about the performances that I can criticize. Like, it's very rare that you look at a character and go, yeah, you were not the right choice,
Yeah.
So it's always solid, but I just look at it. I just cannot get by the complete lack of consequences for what happens at the end of the show. The dream stuff is a bit weird. Again, like, where is it coming from? It's just for this episode. It comes up and then it goes away as quickly as it came. Yeah.
And I would agree with the Mad Hatter thing. It feels forced. Okay. Why is this significant? Give me a reason why. Well, I can buy that it's Noonan's character, Roche, that has this fascination with that. But what is it that makes him do what he does? And also, how does that really tie another loose, let's get to the crime before it happens moment for Mulder is where he just figures out, oh, it's going to be on this street. It's like,
yes.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Tell me why that is important to Roche. And they don't do that. Yeah.
It was...
One thing I didn't mention too, I like how much it ties back to, because we get just so used to Mulder being Mulder and being crazy and being flighty and jumping to conclusions. But I love when we get credible looks back into Mulder being a genius profiler.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why Roche was in jail. And even though I'm not, again, I said it wasn't the best part of the episode, but the idea that he was so deep in this case that, like maybe that stuff came back out in his dreams. Yeah, I don't love like the execution of it, but I love that idea that like Mulder, it's believable to me that before the X-Files, he was that guy that like basically was in the killer's shoes. Like he got so into it that like he would see things as a killer would see them. He would, picture things, he would remember things, whatever. So yeah, I like that element of it. And yeah, I love just I like the finale. I like that. I love the thought that we don't know that maybe he did kill Samantha.
And that's one of the coolest things about the episode. We don't know. And for quite a while, you could, while watching the episode, you can believe that, maybe this is the unfortunate down to earth reality of what happened to Samantha.
Because even the thing that, when Mulder kind of pulls the fast one on him of like, it's a different house, he knows so much of the other stuff.
Right.
And Mulder saying like, no, you've channeled into my mind. Like, to me, that's the reach. That's the reach. And the reality is like, no,
he wants him to be wrong.
He did abduct and kill your sister. And that's why he knows all the facts. And yeah, he forgot what the house looks like because it was 20 something years ago, whatever. Right.
I said this then, and I'll say it now. The solution to that episode was capitalizing on the Nexus as Mulder puts it and Roche eventually quotes him on, between the two of them, if they actually amped that up a bit to make the link, then it makes sense that Mulder is having the dreams and following this path. The fact that the episode kind of comes out of nowhere, it's like, suddenly today I'm thinking about a case that I closed 10 years ago about the cloth hearts, by the way, not paper hearts, but anyone
Right?
cares. So if they had that and then had it end with the acknowledgement that, yes, there is this connection between them, maybe it gives you some finality that no, Samantha was actually still abducted by aliens and this is all Noonan's ploy to escape. I think that would clean up a lot of loose edges, but they dance around the edge of this nexus and it's kind of wiffle-waffly and doesn't really commit in a way which has any resonance. So why bother having it then, right?
But I don't want it cleaned up. To me, if it was cleaned up and it was 100% sure at the end that there's no way he could have done it, that would lessen the episode for me.
Absolutely.
Fair
Even if like it maybe tightens up some other things. I get what you're saying. And I understand the critiques. This is another one where kind of like Field Where I Died, that I don't think it is the best. That's the question I asked you guys when you asked me about coming on. Are we doing best and worst or favorite and least favorite? This is my favorite episode of season 4. I don't think it's the best episode of season 4.
That is totally acceptable. I think I'd said when I went for bottom 3 that they're the ones that made me the angriest. You know, it is objectively they could be good episodes.
Yeah, it's
but
definitely a personal thing.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would take from that, Josh, would be that if it was left unresolved, and I do like how at the end they don't. I will say I do like they don't put a bow on it and clarify for you exactly that. Don't worry, Samantha was really abducted by aliens. This is all a dream. Except that it has no relevance to the rest of the series. Like later on, we're going to go back to Samantha and, it's going to be right back to, yep, abducted by aliens. So, if they're going to do this, then it's either a monster of the week and it has no significance to the rest of the episodes, or it does. And they don't make a decision. And that's probably what I take exception with the most.
Good stuff.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, there it is. And I want to actually draw attention to an episode that none of us put down for a best of. Small Potato.
This was, I thought you were going to say it and the audience said it. And it was on my list of 6 episodes to choose from for number 3.
Yep.
It's probably the funniest episode, right? Of season 4.
Small Potatoes.
Yeah. I would say
so.
Absolutely. Excellent episode. You can't go wrong with this one.
Yeah. I see why the audience chose it. It's a really good episode. And really, David Duchovny's acting chops in that are just it's a challenge and he nails it.
You get a real taste you get tastes of it throughout the series so far. But he is a comedic actor and you give him something to work with and he nails it both physically and with dialogue. It's a great performance by him.
Anytime either of them, Gillian Anderson or David Duchovny get an opportunity to play their character in a way that might not be fully accurate, is a blast. It happens a number of times. I know Bad Blood is kind of the one everybody thinks of. But there's a few others in there where there's some flashbacks or scenes or whatever, something from someone's perspective that's different is so fun because they've nailed their characters so well. That then to play them slightly differently is such a treat for the fans.
Syzygy comes to mind.
Oh, I was just thinking of Syzygy. Absolutely.
It's the most authentic because they're not doing the perspective thing. So they are actually their characters just with tweaks, which is extremely fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's it.
I think we've done it,
everyone. We've done it. We're here.
Look at that polite applause at the end. That was nice.
Applause at the end. Well, thank you, everyone, for stopping in. You've blown the doors off our expectations for member turnout, and we absolutely appreciate each and every one of you for showing up. Josh, for sure, taking the time out to join us with your picks and be a part of this episode. So thank you all.
It was a pleasure. And thank you guys for having me on. Thank you to the people that showed up. Awesome. I remember doing a podcast with live audience, and it's it's a blast, and I'm excited for you guys to have made that step, and I will look forward to jumping in when I can in the future.
Fantastic. We'd love to have you back.
We'd love to have you back.
I mean, I'm just going to sit there in the chat and lurk and say,
well, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you like.
Snappy shit.
But the intended purpose going forward, we will be recording once every 2 weeks, and we will be doing 2 episodes per session. We will still be doing one release for podcast each week, but we will be doing 2 episodes per session. So give us a couple weeks to get this episode out into the podcasting universe, and then we will start up season 6, and we hope to see all of you with us. Yes, and the duck.
We're going to have to change up the soundboard from episode to episode. It's going to be great.
And if I can give a shameless plug.
Absolutely.
Well, especially for your audience, if you don't know, right now we call it a one shot, but the game I am on the Nastygram RPG podcast. We've actually broken into 2 feeds. There's the Nastygram RPG podcast and the Nastygram D&D podcast. So we have 2 different games running kind of on each feed at the same time. They each release every other week. So if you're into fantasy, swords and sorcery kind of shit, we're always playing D&D on one feed. And then on the other feed, the original feed, we play all other kinds of game systems, sci-fi, horror, anything you can imagine. But Andrew joined us, and he's been on before, but he ran a game. The first time we've ever had a guest GM, he ran a game called Paranoia. So it was one long session that we broke into 3 episodes, and the final episode is dropping Tuesday, December 3rd, probably before this one goes to air. So you can check him out and check us out if you want. And Mike has lent his voice on some on a couple behind the scenes kind of audio effects.
Yeah, I get in when I can. And I appreciate you being here and having me on the show. And Andrew, even though you're defecting, I forgive you because it's a really great arc. I've enjoyed the episodes so far. That is a very fun thing to listen to.
Very chaotic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I made a commitment to Josh to do a promo for the second and third episodes, and I managed it for the second one because things were just sort of getting started in the first, and you kind of lay it out. So much stuff happened in the second. I was doing it for the third episode, and I was like, I can't.
Oh yeah, this is the key to the success. Why I'm eternally grateful. Not only did he show up and guest GM, he edited the episodes. Awesome. And as some of you would know, like Mike, that is unbelievable gift to present to us.
Oh yeah.
Well, sometimes it's all in the talent that you're presented. So let's stop patting ourselves in the back. And thanks again, Josh, for being here. This was a lot of fun to do the top 3, bottom 3. It's the highlight of our year, I think, where we get to go back and reflect on the episodes that were. And it's great to have you share that with us. And
I just want to shout out everyone who came in. Thank you so much for showing up. This means a lot to us. It's our first real live episode. Carolyn, Olivia, Emily, Larry showing up. That was fantastic. This turnout has been astonishing, and I hope we grow from here. We've
John and Jesse and Mike's wife were also here.
Yes, nice. Absolutely. I totally didn't pay her to be here, but
totally. Olivia's saying that she's going to be tired in the morning because, of course, she is across the pond listening to this. So it's probably like 6 a.m. her time. I don't even know.
You go ahead and turn us off, get some rest. We're just closing up shop here. But thank you again, everyone. And we hope to see you next time.
Adios.
This concludes our episode of the top 3, bottom 3 of season 4 of the X-Files for This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast. We would like to thank everyone who showed up in the live chat, everyone listening at home, this guy Josh who walks in and gets more respect than the presenter after doing this for 4 years. But that's okay, I'm not bitter. Thank you very much to Larry Musser for showing up in the chat. That was very kind of you, I'm told. And yeah, everyone drive safely because it's nuts out there.
Mulder is brought to a plant nursery where he finds his sister, much as she was when she was taken, an unaged mute and working as a farmhand alongside other children. The alien bounty hunter continues to pursue them to get his weapon back and kill Jeremiah Smith. A whole new arc of the mythology begins now in Season 4 of The X-Files.
The unaged mute or something, because you... The way it sounded when you read it is much as she was when she was taken unaged mute and working as a farmhand.
Yeah, I think we can dump the unaged mute. Because that...
Oh, man.
I like it. Well, I'll just do that and remove that bit.
That's good.
Mulder is brought to a plant nursery.
He remains a prisoner of war and corrects her when she says he's dead. May you forgive him as you do.
It's your look of genuine confusion as you were looking at your own script. You're like, what did I write here?
I must have screwed something up as usual.
Are you going to have to go into the cloud to find a previous version like you did last time?
No, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. We don't have to pause for 5 minutes when you find your copy.
Anyway.
At the end of the flashback, the name Amy is screamed out. Mulder awakens and begins screaming for a guard's attention as we cut to commercial. Probably for sleepy drugs, sleep easy, or no doze nose. Well, I don't know what you get. But
are you haunted by memories of your past?
would you like a good night's sleep?
Would you like to get knocked out for a good 12 hours?
Are your neighbors screaming at all hours of the night for their partner?
Have you been wrongfully accused of a murder-suicide?
Just sleep your way through it with our proven formula.
Take a power drill to your forehead. Just insert it right along your hairline. Don't go too far.
Don't turn it into a lobotomy.
Just a lot of people just dead with drills to their heads. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/magusmediaproductions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.